and welcome to a brand new season of ET Now Hangouts. I'm Ankita Saxena, and in this season, we get you the best from the startup ecosystem. And today we are talking about a startup that not just addressed a very pressing consumer problem, but also proved that timing is of the essence. In 2012, Pankaj Vermani and Neha Kant co-founded Clovia, which is now a 1,000 crore lingerie empire. Well, in March 2022, Reliance Retail acquired an 89% stake in Clovia for a whopping $125 million. Well, benefiting from Reliance scale and retail expertise, the brand hopes to bolster its brand's presence and value proposition to scale up. Well, in this conversation, we bring you the key insights for all the D2C founders aspiring to build a multi-million-dollar brand. Hi Pankaj, hi Neha. Thank you so much for taking the time out and coming to our studio for ET Now's Hangout Season 2.
Thank you so much. It's super to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So let me start from the beginning then. Pankaj, I'll ask you because you were in EdTech. Back in 2006, you started Vriti, and then you had an incubator. You had invested in other startups. And going back a little more, your father also had a lingerie business back in your hometown. You wanted to escape that, you're back to that now. How did you get back to that? I know, Neha has a big involvement in that, but take us through your journey. How did you start up an online lingerie business?
So I think they say the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, right? So all along my childhood, I was supposed to be at the store. My father always used to say that, if you're a fish, you need to learn to swim, so you have to come to the store. So, and I wanted to do more in life. So, I studied, went to IIT, and then, did my first business, which was actually that was a, ad tech business, which was, advertisement technology. Second business was an ed tech business, which is education technology. And then once I exited the second business, I was running an incubator for a Swiss fund in India. At that point of time, Neha, who, of course, she'll walk through her own journey, but she had already started to discuss and say, boss, there is a serious challenge in this category, right? And she would say that, because she comes from a small town, she would say that there was a lot of challenges that, we saw growing up, and I want to do something about it. And I had done education technology way ahead of its time, So I would always ask her that, it's once burnt, twice shy, I said, is it a latent demand? Is it like a real demand? Is it here and now, or will it happen 5 years later? So, so we did a lot of research. We used to discuss a lot. And I used to laugh. I said, you're asking a guy to talk about lingerie, why wouldn't he, right? So it started in such a light note. But the more we researched on the category, right, we realized that this is an absolute need. And the demand is not latent, the demand is here and now. Right. So that is when, we started to take this a lot more seriously. And then, of course, one thing led to another, and then we left everything and got full-time into it.
Right. So, Neha, let me come to you now. Pankaj mentioned an important point. He said that Neha came from a small town, and she said that there's a big problem. So, there was a clear opportunity there, a big problem there. What were these problems? What was the market problem that you were trying to solve back in the day? I'll talk about the timing of it also, because that's of the essence, when you started out a lingerie business online. But talk to me about the market problem and how that started.
So I grew up in Haridwar, Uttaranchal. At that time, it wasn't yet Uttaranchal, it was Uttar Pradesh.
Yes.
And interestingly, up till the point, almost till the point I got married, my mom did all my shopping for lingerie. I never went to the store. I don't know how she and the retailer figured out my size, but they got the bras and underwear for me. So as a result, I grew up slightly awkward in my growing up years. And now when I look back, I also realized that a whole lot of my class, women I mean, girls, fell out of active sports. I was a sports person in school, and whatever my experience was, I feel most women could not keep up with sports because it was tough. And puberty and adolescence without the right underwear was tough. But I had not yet realized this problem. I came to Delhi University, studied, went on to work in corporate, and by now I was shopping from high streets of Delhi. And the problem had not really solved itself. And I'm speaking of, 2000 to 2005. Again, very limited sizes, very limited fits, and then, of course, no color, nothing of choice to a young woman, really. Yeah. And I traveled, I got to travel a little bit internationally for work, and there I walked into a store and got myself fitted, and it just clicked. Okay, this is the problem that is missing, All my life I'd been feeling maybe I'm too broad, too big, too too tall perhaps? Why am I so uncomfortable in my skin? But you know, this is what it is. This makes my t-shirt fit better. This makes my outfits fit better. So that was the moment, and I came back, and then of course I'd worked in advertising, marketing, sales, merchandising, a whole host of corporate experience I had. So it made a lot of business sense. And that business sense, this opportunity, you know, combined together, felt like this is a good idea to bet your life on.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, let me come to you about the timing that I mentioned. 10 years back, who would have thought of a lingerie brand online, right? The timing is of the essence, you know. Talk to us about this early movers advantage in this business, because nobody thought of doing a lingerie business online.
So early movers, you know, it's very interesting. At the time when we started, the decision to go online was more because we wanted it to be a customer-driven brand, to understand what they want, because that was the hypothesis, that, you know, retailer is selling what he can stock, while we should be making what the actual end user wants. So for that, we needed to have a direct contact with her. At that time, D2C or direct to consumer was not even a term yet coined. But somehow we had arrived at that conclusion that we need to be in direct touch with customers, and therefore internet seemed like the best way to do it, the best foot forward. And that's why we came to be an online brand, and at a time when there was no WhatsApp, no Instagram, it's unthinkable, right? How it would be advertised. And even Facebook would keep switching off our ads because people would report it. So we would actually show night suits, and then people would click,
like surrogate advertising.
Yes, surrogate advertising. Yes, night suits.
Imagine,
and then people will come and see the ads for bras. So that's how we started. But I think it just really took off, because I think there were a lot of customers who were waiting for it, and it just, so while there was lack of advertising opportunities, but there was lack of competition also. So all of that market was for ours to capture.
Right. Also tell me about the fact that since you started this online, the very important question is, as a consumer, as a woman, this business is driven by customer trials. Like, you know, how would I know that is it going to fit me? Is it going to look fine on me? It's primarily driven by trials, right? How did you think of starting it online? Because it's a very personal thing. How do I look at a piece online and then buy it? Because that's something that comes to my mind first on, like, you know, what convinced you about that?
Right. So I think from a very beginning, this was the question that everybody asked, and I think if we were to, you know, get $1 for every time somebody said that, you know, how will you sell bras online, you know, we would have been billionaires. So I think one thing that we were very clear was that this whole trial concept was still very tier 1 town. You know, if you go to a smaller town, there would be a lot of places where you would not have any trial rooms. So one thesis was very clear, that there was still some purchase which was happening, you know, without trials. But that would defeat the whole purpose of what we were trying to do, because we wanted to give a fitted product, right? So how do we kind of bridge that gap? So we created something which was called the Clovia fit test, right? And Clovia curve fit test, it's actually a, you know, it's a trademark property. So we showed a bunch of pictures, and basis those pictures, the customer would, you know, select, because it's visually easier, right? She would tell, this is how my body looks like. And at the end of the, you know, it was a very small 5-step quiz. We were able to make out very clearly of what body type does the person belong to. And we would give a you know, bunch of recommendations. That kind of triggered everything, because all of a sudden we started realizing that hardly any returns of whoever is taking that quiz. You know, over a period of time, we got so, you know, we got so close to the, you know, to the fit of the person, that we were able to kind of bridge that gap. And I think that is something which we had continued to do. Today we would have a, you know, around 1 million women whose, you know, whose body fits, etc., are very, very clearly stored with us, and we continue to kind of, you know, improve on it, you know, even today.
Right. And I'll take a leaf from what you just said. You mentioned that the body fit is very important. Like, and India is such a diverse country where perhaps the body shape, the body size changes with every locality, if you will. So, you know, if there is so much of diversity just within, say, the same area, how do you build a product? How did you go about building a product mix?
So I think the way we see it is that you know, India is a country which changes every 100 kilometers.
Exactly.
Right, in the way you consume, even temperatures, even you know, it's very different, right? So from our perspective, we were very clear that we are solving a statistical problem. We are not solving a design problem. And exactly what Neha said, that we went online first because we were trying to capture more and more data from people. Today, we capture, 9 body types, right? 6 life stages, 50 sizes, right? And we're just scratching the surface of the whole thing. So we created products for every set of people. And then we built something which was called the Monk. It is a technology engine we built, which is a sensei with a sixth sense, right? And the Monk would churn data and try and understand very clearly of what pin code is more, the relation of product to pin code was something which we were trying to build out over a period of time. So as we went along, we were able to see that how Punjab would respond to a certain product, a certain size set, a certain color would be very different. Even certain fabrics would be very different from probably what a Sikkim would react to, vis-a-vis what a Kerala would react to. So that is the power of data that we were able to harness.
Let me come to you about data only then, because this is way ahead of its time. 10 years back to think of a D2C brand collecting data. So D2C brands.
Everybody used to call us private label. No, I would fight with them and say we are a brand, not a private label.
So talking about that, data is a very, very big advantage for a D2C brand, because you're sitting on large pools of data. You're selling to your customers directly, getting the feedback directly from the customers, and like you mentioned, you've developed a software that helps you churn out the data, and you've developed a supply chain that has helped you simplify complex manufacturing and therefore reduce your costs. Could you elaborate on that for a lot of D2C startup brands who are looking towards simplifying that?
You want to take that?
So I think a couple of things, like Pankaj said, we built that fit test, which helped us get about 1 million plus profiles in over 10 years, which helped us iterate on the fits. So I think for, like you said, for people who are listening in and D2C founders, whatever is the key problem that you're solving, how will the customer arrive at the solution, that those steps should be very clear, and if you can kind of gamify it, it makes it more attractive for customer to participate and input that data and get her output. At the end of it, what we see is there is a long tail of data, like Pankaj spoke about 50 sizes, 9 body types, and 6 life stages that we cover for women. 6 life stages, of course, all women will go through, but actually between 50 sizes, you cover the bulk of the market in relatively fewer sizes. So I would say then, when you are churning a large amount of data, be mindful of the fact that address the bigger chunk in between and not the long tail.
The minority perhaps.
Yeah, so I mean in the beginning I would say, because again, long tail takes you in various directions, while the meat of or mass of the bulk of the market lies somewhere in the middle of the pyramid. Again, then you got to do things which make it easier for your customer. Like I said, 10 years back, one very interesting thing that used to happen was that people accessed internet from office desktops. Laptops were yet very few. Smartphones were not there. We only had BlackBerry, hardly any smartphones. So the peak shopping time for us used to be office lunch hour. And then people wouldn't, it's very difficult to open a lingerie website in an office. So we created something called private mode. So you click on that private mode, on top, somewhere on the right, there used to be a button, private mode, and all the pictures would go blank. And only when your cursor would go up to that particular picture, that picture would only come alive. So only you can see it. So when you make solutions like these, only then a customer starts to, connect with you, starts inputting data, starts feeling, comfortable with you. We were the first one to say that we will take closed box returns. So if you want to return the item, the executive is not going to check what is it that you're handing over. You just close the box and give it. So of course we do get our share of frauds, but it's a fraction of the cost that, it's okay, because we deliver a massive amount of customer experience then to our customers.
Okay, speaking of customer experience, for a D2C brand, or for any brand for that matter, building customer love or customer obsession, if you will, is absolutely important, absolutely supermost. And here you're dealing with a customer that's women, that's harder to please. How do you build that customer love, that customer obsession?
Actually, that's our favorite part of the journey. When we started, we tried many things for the brand. Of course, when you think about lingerie, and you do, glamour comes automatically attached to lingerie. And then we took many journeys. We went on sensual side, we went on comfort and function.
Yeah.
But you know, women were not really opening their wallets. I mean, of course, some of them did, but it wasn't, because most women were used to spending 150 to 200, 250 rupees on their underwear. And it was still seen as something inside, not worth of spending and so on. Then we just decided to center our brand on one keyword, joy. And we said, everybody is just talking of comfort, cotton, function. It's pretty boring. For women, you have to connect with them at their, you know, at their aspirations, what they, you know, their dreams, be part of, you know, their imagination. And as soon as we did that, the whole communication, product language, the way even our office is, the way it looks today, the way we speak to each other, the way our staff will greet you when you walk into our offline store. Now we are also offline for several years now. The whole thing changed. The brand language changed, and then the customer connect with us also deepened and became much larger. From just shopping 5-6 pieces a year, they are now shopping 15 plus pieces from us in a year. So it just completely changed the game for us.
And it's also, I think one thing that we always used to, you know, still tell our team is that, you know, buying a bra for yourself, you know, it's literally like the first date. You know, if she doesn't like you on the first date, she's never going to speak to you again.
Yeah.
And it's a second skin product. So it is very, very essential that you get it right the first time. So there's a lot of effort that goes in the product. From the happiness side, I think it also kind of matches our DNA. The whole thesis of starting this business started when Neha said that, you know, even if, and we didn't start thinking big. You know, Neha said that even if I can make change in like 10,000 people's lives, it's good enough for me.
Okay.
When we started to do this, and you know, and the scale, we could see, you know, this is worth, you know, we have something which is called the Mission 50 Million now. You know, so 5 crore women we have to touch is something, you know, in terms of a product, the lives we have to touch for them. Is something that we guys are, you know, working towards. So I think our mission is a lot bigger now, and but it continues to be exactly how Neha always envisioned that. Let's touch as many lives as possible and make it easier, you know, for them.
Right. Also, another important thing about D2C brand is that at least in the earlier stage, you don't scale by acquiring new customers, but selling different products to the same customer, right? You know, instead of customer acquisition, you have repeat customers. And from what I was reading about your brand, 50% of your revenue comes from online business, I believe, and 60% of it is repeat customers. If correct me if I'm wrong. How do you build those repeat customers?
I think from a business perspective, you know, it's a very interesting saying that it's better to have 1,000 fanatics liking your product than having 1 million people buying your product just one time.
Correct.
Right? And first time purchase is marketing. Right? A repeat purchase is actually when the product starts to speak for itself. Right? So from our perspective, we always thought that the real litmus test is going to happen when the same person is going to come back to us again. And this is what we have always worked towards. And the good news is this product is a little on the commodity side of things, right? So, you know, you need to buy it more than once in the year.
Yeah.
So we have that opportunity to sell. You know, it's not like an air conditioner that, you know, you will have to wait 3-4 years for it to be bought. So, so we have always tested ourselves on the NPS scores, on the customer experience scores. You know, that is where the real meat of the whole business lies. And I think any person who's trying to build a brand should only see the NPS and the repeats. Everything else is, you know, is just vanity.
And one very practical thing about building repeats is that you have to be where your customer is.
Okay.
You can think that my product, my brand is so awesome and customer will come looking for me. Yes, that is true for many brands. But effectively, you have to work very hard on your distribution. Keep working on taking a product into as many channels as you can. For a commodity product, like Pankaj said, it's an essential. You need to buy it often 3 or 4 times a year. So you have to be in her nearby store. You have to be on her online stores. You have to be on her favorite online store. You have to have your own store. So you surround her as much as possible. The more she sees you, the more the brand will stick in her mind.
Interesting. And that kind of scale also was offered by Reliance Retail, which picked up 89% stake in the business. Tell us, how did Reliance Retail coming into the picture with its scale, with its retail expertise, how did that help you scale your own business?
See, having the right partner on our side, whether it be a strategic partner or a financial partner, that was the call to take. We are very fortunate to that we are part of an ecosystem which very strongly believes in impacting a very sizable chunk of the country. And so the reason why we got aligned to the ecosystem was predominantly that our aspiration kind of was in line with what the group stood for.
Okay, so finally I want to ask you, a lot of founders who perhaps would be watching you guys, what would be the key takeaways? How do you build a D2C brand? How do you build a multi-million D2C brand? I think everyone wants to know that. What would be a key takeaways from both of you, one by one?
Okay, so I can start. I think 2 things: get your math right. If your business doesn't have enough margins, because when you're trying to build a D2C brand, there will be expenses, right? There will be marketing expenses, there will be initial education you'll have to do, right? All that has to come from your transaction, right? And the transaction should ensure that you have enough margins with you. So a business should have very sorted gross margins. That is one thought process you should have. Second is build your business on repeats, right? And this is very specific to D2C brands. Please build your business on repeats. If you feel that you've had 1 million customers and you feel great about it, but none of them have come back, then you didn't have 1 million customers. It's just that you are great marketeers, you are not great brand. So I think those are the 2 key takeaways that I would kind of want to contribute. Neha, what would your thought be?
Yes, I will add on to just this only, that a lot of times there is, in the first few years, a lot of you struggle between brand versus revenue. And we also struggled whether this is the right thing for us to do for the brand. Is this kind of degrading the brand by selling on, let's say, TV shopping or things like that, or not? And I think one thing which worked for us, that we had this mark in our mind that we will first take the company up to 100 crores, have enough cash flows running, gain that momentum so that we have enough volumes to make quality product, to invest in R&D, to do all of that, to then also invest in brand, and then make conscious decisions on brand and start saying no to sales opportunities for the sake of brand. Up till that point, we did everything. I mean, I went on TV shopping and sold shapewear, saying, first I used to be that much big, now look how can I look. We did all of that because we knew that that is what will sustain the business. We have to do it for longer run. It's not about today, tomorrow, and one can't survive on just VC money. The business has to stand and pay its own bills. And so I think revenue before brand up till a point, and then you start to invest in brand and cash flows, I think.
And one very important thing is don't spread yourself too thin. I think people end up doing, as you were saying, let's sell more products to the same person. I think that also is a very interesting trap, because every product is a journey of its own. So if you try to do too many products at the same time, every product will have its own journey, but then you'll do too many short journeys. So it's better to do one long journey than too many shorter journeys, from a brand perspective.
And finally, what's your vision for Clovia now going ahead?
Mission 50 million. I think we're very sorted there.
We're already, 50 lakh women. We've already, they have Clovia in their drawers and they're loving it, hopefully. And so our mission is to take that number to 5 crores.
So 5 crores is the number that you're chasing.
Women,
As of today.
As of today, so 5 crores is the number that you're chasing. All right. More power to you for that. And here's hoping that you guys achieve it. And thank you so much for coming over and having such an insightful conversation. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.